Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, I have the recirc blower finished. Got a cord on it, all cleaned up, ready to go. This goes back on the furnace. But before I do that, I'm going to finish up some of the inside work before I go out and start doing the outside. It's 6 degrees today. This little blower works. I mean, it works fine. It runs good, but it's just filthy. It's packed full of dirt and dust and all kinds of things. Spins okay. I don't have to worry about taking the fan blade off because this one comes out the back. The only real issue I have is this mount. Now it works, and I can access these holes here, but not these here. Can't get a wrench on them. The only thing I can get in there is an open-end wrench. Plus, as you see in the other video, the hole that this bolts up to is tiny. I mean, we've got a blower here with it's got a 2-inch outlet on this fan. The hole that it blows into is an inch or less. So it's about 3 times, maybe 4 times smaller than this. Doesn't make much sense to have a blower like this pushing into air into a little hole like that, because all it does is it makes this thing not work well. It also has an issue in that it doesn't have the little adjustable panel on the front, the little intake adapter. So this fan wheel is just pumping air back out of the scroll. I'm not going to make one. I'm not going to make another intake for it. I am thinking that I want to take and put a adapter on this and run an outside air to this, because the air that this blows into the furnace goes up the chimney and out the building. So if I take the air that I've spent all that time, effort, and money heating in the building, pull it into this little fan and pump it into the furnace and out the stack, it's not really doing me a whole lot of good. So I'm better off taking cold air from the outside, which has 2 benefits. 1, I didn't pay to heat it. 2, it's denser. It's cold, it's denser. So it's going to be a little more efficient to pump it in from the outside. I do have to come up with a way to get it to the outside and get a little screen over it so I don't have rats and mice and squirrels living inside the ductwork going to this. But I think I can do that with some 4-inch duct, and then just plumb it in with an air line so it comes over right from the wall and into this. Put a screen over the intake. That should take care of the problem. So, for right now, I'm going to come up with a plate that goes over this after I get the fan taken apart and cleaned up. These little mushroom trays have been a big help. Lydia and I both like fresh mushrooms. And we like to have grilled steaks and fresh mushrooms. So that meant that we were getting a lot of mushrooms. And I looked at this tray and I said, wow, that looks pretty nice. And it's something I'm going to throw away anyways. And rather than tossing it out, I could recycle it as a tray in the workshop. Well, I stopped when I amassed about 100 of them. I said, okay, that was enough. But as time went on, I found that there were many uses for them. I was doing a lot of work with them as far as, using them for parts. And I also found that they're resistant to mineral spirits. So I could wash parts in them. I could also flip them over and use them as a surface to mix epoxy. So I have used up a good many of the ones that I had and found uses for the new ones, so they are being used. Now I don't know if this is metric or not, but I have a metric set of Allen wrenches here, and that looks to be the same size as the one on the big fan. So let's see. It is. How's that for cool? I need a little something that I can use for a punch. Although I'm able to wiggle it off, I guess. There. That's nasty. Well, the fan relies on the outside air to cool the fan. So it's pulling air into the fan and through the motor, which means it's sucking junk into it. Having a little problem with clarity in my vision. Thank you to aging. See if I can get this label legible without destroying it. Nope. That was great. We just reduced the cost of these by half because I used them twice. Let's see. Can I get that down in there? Oh, that's turning the screw. It's got a little metal washer. It has a dimple in it. And that's coming right out. Good. I'm going to be able to take this motor apart and clean out the junk on the inside. As long as I can get this other one out. Yep, it's coming. Pack full of bugs. That's odd, these screws are slightly bigger. Just slightly. But I can reach in here with a pair of pliers and grab a hold of them. Just have to break them loose. They should spin right off because the other ones came off easy enough. I wonder why they went with such small screws, with such small nuts on the top ones and a different size down here. Makes no sense. Then I guess it doesn't have to. It's not in the business of making me happy. Somebody else bought it a long time ago. Now this housing might not come apart because it doesn't look like these do a whole lot towards holding it together. It's more that it's kind of staked. Yeah. Well, I could take it out in the garage and use the air compressor to blow the crap out of it because it's packed full of dust. Not good for a motor to be that packed full of dust. It makes it overheat. But it's got nice big holes on both sides, so I might be able to blow all the dust out of it. We'll just have to see. Much better. Having this shut-off valve on the hose makes life a lot easier. When there's pressure in the hose, it's hard to move, and it doesn't want to disconnect easily. But when you flip the valve off and open this little valve up here, it bleeds the pressure off the hose. You can connect and disconnect easily. And with this valve closed, the tank just sits there. It doesn't drain off. I usually keep a little pressure in the tank I'll run it every once in a while, get it back up to 150, and then I'll just shut the valve off and turn off the compressor, and it'll just sit here. I can pump up tires, I can blow out motors, I can do all kinds of things without running the motor. So now, I have the motor all cleaned out. It was packed full. So you're taking a before picture. But it was packed full. Couldn't see through it. It was just full of dust. Now, I'll go down and reassemble it. After I put the truck back inside. It's 6 degrees out. Had all the dust blown out of the motor. Probably should have taken the housing out there, but I can do that with a wire brush. So I'm going to mount this onto this steel plate, which is a junction box cover, just for a 4 square steel junction box. That will let me get out here and put screws into the side of the furnace so that I can attach this, and at the same time I can cut a larger hole in this and cut a larger hole in the furnace wall so that the two line up. Make that happen, I'm going to have to go out and measure the furnace, take this scroll with me and see what's going to line up with a recirc blower, and I might have to end up putting this up like this to get it up above the recirc blower high enough. We'll just have to see. This fan motor is rubber mounted. Got these little grommets mounted through there. I'd like to paint this, but it's too cold outside and it makes the house stink if I paint down here. So we're not going to paint it. Okay, took a bit to get it. It's number STK 80239M79. Says, be sure to ground the motor frame to prevent serious electrical shock. Yeah, no ground. The numbers on the tag read 835-3210123, 115 volt, 1600 RPMs, 0.34 amps, 60 hertz, continuous air over, S21 impedance protected. So that's all the numbers off the tag. Don't know if it does me any good, but at least I got a record of it. I want to make sure I get them up snug, but I don't want to wrinkle that frame. Should be solid, but I don't want to put any undue tension on the bearings. This is the wrong size driver, but it's putting friction against the front of the nut and letting me get it down below the surface of that washer. There. Good and solid. Oh. Wrong Allen. Wrong hex key. There. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to connect this wire to that little fan.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.